good evening, parents. Coy's behind the camera, and he's going to be embarrassed because I'm going to say, what about those Chiefs? I was supposed to go, but I didn't. But I just did. Okay. Anyway, good evening, Mrs. P. And it's Red Friday. And hopefully you are Sunday ready and prepared for a big Kansas City Chiefs win. Before that, though, I've had a long week with your kiddos. That's what they would tell you. And it has been a long week. They had to take iReady testing. It ran a little long. We've been trying to get measurements in, talking about our conversions within the customary system. So I'm going to try to make this a short video and just talk to you about how I started talking to your students about measuring. So we have been covering the customary system this week, and in fact, we made a graphic organizer, and it started off just like this. Beautiful piece of plain paper. Some rows, some columns, didn't have much information in it. And by the end of today, it was this beautiful thing. Talked about length, weight, volume is capacity, and then some conversions inside. Every one of the students here in the 6th grade at Westmont Elementary School now has one of these, a customary graphic organizer. And they're going to get to use it when we're doing actual assignments here in class and even when they're testing. Why? Because the graphic organizer doesn't give them the answers. It gives them information. They still have to know the process in order to answer and come up with a solution for the problem. So just a few things I wanted to share with you. We use 3 basic units in the customary system. Only country in the world who uses the customary system is us in the United States. We also use the metric system, but more for imports and outports. Exports, not outports, imports and exports within countries. Every other country around the world uses the metric system. And we're going to be going over that this week. I thought we'd get it in this week, but we just didn't have time. So instead, we just covered the customary system of 3 basic units that are used to measure most things that we use in our everyday life and existence. And that is length, weight, and capacity. Length, anything with distance. Weight, any solid piece of item that you want to find out its weight for. And capacity, any liquid volume substance that you want to put inside an object. We then broke that down to how many units were under each of these. For instance, under length, there are inches, there are feet, there are yards, and there are miles. And then there are some for weight and capacity. And I'm not going to go through every single one of them. I'll make a more extensive video next week. But for right now, I just want to show you what we went through. We then listed these units under our basic unit of length. And then we found out what we knew about each of them. So starting with this lovely one known as inches, we went back over reading a ruler with your students this week. That was quite interesting. They found out that in inches, did you know there are halves, fourths, eighths, and sixteenths within an inch? Now they know if you want to ask them about it. Inches. We then went on and started developing a process and a pattern to tell us what is in each one of these units. 12 inches to that 1 foot, 3 feet to that 1 yard, and 1,760 yards to that 1 mile. Bet you didn't know that. Some people don't know that. They know this, that is also equivalent to 5,280 feet. And we did that through each one of these basic units. And then they're going to use this graphic organizer, say where you're using inches and we want to go to feet. They're going to be able to use this graphic organizer to see so many inches go to so many feet, and I'm going to know how to convert those. And they're going to use basic math operations, 2 that we know are higher level and more mathematically for 6th grade, and that is multiplication and division. They even have special notes on the back of their graphic organizer that help them convert these systems. They first need to know what system they're using, what size of units are they using, and what operations should they use. For instance, just 2 quick examples, and then I'll let you go for the day and bug you back next week. If we have an example of, and we use these today, I have 4 yards. and I want to know how many inches that is. We are looking at this measurement. I'm not concerned right now with the 4. I'm concerned with what units we're using. And this unit, if your students start thinking about the customary system, know that yards are bigger than inches. So what I tell the students is make some notes for yourself. This is the customary system. Yards are larger than inches, larger, smaller unit. And it makes sense when they see this that if I have 4 yardsticks and I want to know how many inches are in that, is this number going to increase or decrease? Well, we know, ladies and gentlemen, that to get from yards to inches, there's something in between there that we can't skip. If I have 4 yards, I first must find out how many feet are in those yards, and then I can find out how many inches are in those feet. Well, if I have a larger unit and I want to go to a smaller unit, I first need to find out what I know about yards and feet. And in their graphic organizer, and I won't flip this back over, they will see, they know that there are 3 feet to every yard. So if I have 4 yards, there are 3 feet in each one of those. 3, 6, 9, and 12. So there are 12 feet in 4 yards. I simply multiplied by 3. Now I can take this conversion to inches. And I then have to check, what do I know about inches and feet? And we know there are 12 of these in every foot. So I simply multiply 12 times 12 because every foot has 12 inches. So I have 12 groups of 12 to get 144 inches. And that's just an example of what we did today. How do I know what operation to use to solve my solution in my problem? They have to ask, what system, what size, what operation, and then they have to know some mathematical information about measurements. How many inches are in a foot? How many feet are in a yard? How many yards are in a mile? And we're going to continue working on this on Monday. And in fact, we're actually even going to move on to add the metric system to their information. A little easier. It's moving a decimal, which is a lot nicer than our customary system. A lot of memorization of numbers in the customary system. But we will get the hang of it as we move forward next week. We are a little bit behind, not in a bad way, but had a lot going on this week, so we had to push some things back. But we'll eventually get there. No rush. I want your students to really understand how we do measurements and conversions, how they are in the family of ratios and finding equivalency. So we'll continue that next week, the 1st of February. 4 more months of school left to go. But we're having a great time, and our kids are doing a great job. I hope you have a great weekend. And, of course, go Chiefs.